Yasem aba ebusiafo Akosombo fire outbreak no eye Jinapor aye ni so oye energy minister aba abekasa oni Greek for nko for aba edi emuhia aba abekasa just enya asem keto akra ebusiafo before I be start dwumedie no like dwumedie no share ma onuanom namfo ebusiafo obia enso ensa intumi enkabi notification bell that the man found some also send a political trending news. The echo, the Ebebiano, also what depends say, was a bit my nani age, nani age, my dear. That is say, Akosombo fire outbreak, and I hear him say, if free baby, ye empty and once in a year, honor, a year, Jinapor, asset a 7 members of investigators. So ammonia in Vijimu and Famano Omu baby, a year, a jano, is so free, and a yanka sankasano, yet yan once his carriages be a coso, and your money may be coswa. You want to say, a Akosombo fire outbreak no and share that every Akosombo and a obi and as in call phobia and as you may call phobia and a acosity a channel at the atua right now no ye but Jinapor am I almost 1 to 2 weeks obehu the a cause of fire outbreak and say and call phobia so and a share that channel ever told her or the a home moye ever bray mommy uncle Nikoti Jinapor nanuto in some our found any investigators now was a tiomo so ammonia said man or more go mudin. Me do be our jibra a hurt materials. Young
and you can see for yourself. But this building is constructed in a way to ensure that when there's an explosion, it's contained within. And so the switchyard itself has not been affected. It's quite unusual and it's quite a situation that we need to get to the bottom of. And so immediately, the ministry is setting up a 7-member committee, which will be chaired by Engineer Muna himself, who was a chief executive here before. He is also the board chair of the Electricity Company of Ghana. We're going to get experts to serve on that committee from the Fire Service, from National Security, from the Energy Commission, and other institutions that would help us to conduct a detailed investigation. We think that within 2 weeks to 3 weeks, they should be ready with a report so that we can get to the root cause of this challenge and all the other issues surrounding this very, very unfortunate incident. The immediate focus is restoration of power. Engineers have been working around the clock. The chief executives of GridCo and VRA spent a chunk of their time here yesterday. They waited for me. I've received a briefing. And from the briefing I've received, what they intend to do is to isolate the control station and attempt to feed power through an alternative arrangement. And what they intend to do is to start with 1 unit today. Men are going to be working 24/7 in gangs. And so one gang will work for some hours, and then another gang will take over. And they hope that by close of today, they will be able to bring 1 unit on. Once that 1 unit or the first unit is successful, it paves the way for them to restore the other units. Because we are talking of about 1,000 megawatts. And for Ghana standard, that's a lot of power. And so whatever we can do, whatever the ministry and its agencies can do to ensure that we restore power quickly, that is the main focus, without prejudicing the investigation. And the team or the committee we've set does not preclude the National Security, the Fire Service, any other institution from carrying out a parallel investigation. I've received some briefing and I sense what ought to be done. As Minister, I've also directed that from Monday we conduct a total overhaul and audit of all our energy installations to test our readiness again. Even though periodically we conduct this exercise, we think that this situation calls for an urgent action to take a second look at that. And so let me assure Ghanaians that we are working with all the other institutions to ensure that we restore power and bring the system back to normalcy as soon as possible. They hope that within a 5-day period, there will be full restoration. But I've pleaded with them that without compromising safety, without compromising the standard practices, we should double up. The key thing is the first unit. Once the first unit is successful, then it means that the drawing or the program they have can be followed through. And so they will be working around the clock. And like I said, they intend to do a 24-hour work with shifts. They needed some equipment. We had to arrange an escort to bring the equipment. They are almost here. And so even before the materials arrive, you can see men are on site working to ensure that we're able to resolve this challenge. When I spoke to some
the energy minister there, let's go on to the telephone, on Zoom right now and have a conversation on this rather concerning account of what the minister is just giving us of that fire outbreak yesterday at the Gridco substation in Akosombo. Richmond Roxon is the special assistant to the minister. He's the head of corporate affairs for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. Roxon, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred, and thank you for having me.
Great. You were with the team and with the minister earlier today, and you visited this site. He described this as disastrous. I mean, just paint to us what exactly was affected by this fire outbreak and the extent of destruction.
Let me take the opportunity to say good evening to your cherished viewers, and once again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to engage. I'll describe what has happened as very unfortunate. It's a very significant development, especially when it comes to the generation of power and the power supplied to various parts of the country. And then also, if we look at the devastating nature of what has happened, the outbreak, it's sad that we, as a country, we've had to go through that. Yesterday around 2 p.m. thereabouts, as a ministry, we received information that there was a major incident around the Akosombo substation, and that there was an explosion. We're hoping that that explosion would have been dealt with as soon as possible. Unfortunately, last night, even as around 9 p.m., the Ghana National Fire Service were struggling to deal with the fire. And so you had imagined from around 1:32 to around 8:39 p.m., you're looking at about 6 to 7 hours period of fire and then its resultant effect. Unfortunately, we had the entire control room burned down to the ground. Your reporters were there today. I'm sure that you have the videos. Completely devastated, nothing salvageable there. The good news is that the switchyard itself was not affected, as the Honorable Dr. Jinapor said. The nature of the construction of the building that contains the control room is in such a way that it would be difficult for it to move outside that building. But that building itself has been badly damaged. And then as a way of precaution, what we had to do as a government was to shut down Akosombo Dam. What it means is that as of now, the almost 1,000 megawatts that we get from hydro from the Akosombo Dam is not available to us as a country. And this resultant effect is just serious. And so we're working around the clock. We are dealing with engineers. The engineers have given us assurance as government that they're working around the clock. These are very experienced engineers, people who are very knowledgeable in the field. And so we are hoping that as they've assured us, the next 24 hours, we'll have the first unit of the dam come back on stream, and then they'll introduce some technology to be able to still get power transmitted from the dam to various parts of the country. And also the Honorable Minister mentioned that government has set up a committee to investigate what has happened. It's important that we get to the root cause of what the issue is. And so you have Engineer Amuna, who is a very experienced energy professional. He's been in this business for about 40 years, former Gridco CEO, current board chair for ECG, chairing the committee that have been tasked to investigate.
Yes, I was going to ask about this 7-member committee, if you permit me. Now, there was also earlier, yesterday, when we spoke to some persons who were close to the action when this incident happened, there were suggestions of suspicion of arson and so on. I mean, is the committee going to, what's their terms of reference? What exactly are they going to be looking out for in this investigation?
Basically, what the committee has to do is to ascertain the cause of this fire outbreak, and then whatever incidentals. So whether or not you had the requisite CCTV camera available, whether you had the security available, whether you had a tender available, whether this was triggered by human negligence. All these things are part of the work that the committee is supposed to do. Like I said, the members of the committee are very experienced people. You have a representative from fire service, you have a representative from national security, a representative from PURC, another one from energy commission. Both of them are the regulators when it comes to the power sector. You have a rep from VRE, you have a rep from Gridco as well. You have the very experienced Kwame Jantua, who is a very experienced energy professional in the field. And so I'm certain that as the minister has directed, within 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to get the report, and the report will guide government on the way forward. For now, the unfortunate news is that we as at this morning when we visited there, we had Akosombo contributing practically zero to our national mix, our generation mix. The generation mix is largely made of thermal and hydro. We had Akosombo being down. And so, as it happened last night, some parts of the country have had their power being disrupted. But the engineers have assured us that they are working on it, and that they should be able to restart the first unit within 24 hours. And then once that is done, they will replicate the technology and then ensure that power is fully restored.
So both contributing zero to our energy mix. What does that mean? Explain that to me, please.
What it means is that by way of precaution, as a result of what happened, Akosombo is now out. We are not getting any power from Akosombo as we speak. And so we are falling on the other sources of power when it comes to our thermal mix, when it comes to our generation mix. So we are looking at thermal, we are looking at renewable energy, and then also we are looking at Bon and Bui. They contribute the other parts to it. But for Akosombo, as at this moment, we visited there because of the impacts of what has happened, and then by way of precaution to protect the integrity of the dam, to protect personnel, to protect the system itself, and to ensure that we don't have ripple effects of what has happened. The entire unit have been closed down. Akosombo has 6 units, and so the entire unit, which is almost 1,000 megawatts, is down.
It's a lot away from the energy mix. If the Akosombo Dam is currently, because of this accident, the Akosombo is not contributing anything. As in the electricity we are enjoying, none of it is coming from Akosombo. That's what it means. I mean, basically.
At the moment, yes. At the moment, yes. And that is a very significant impact. If you look at our dependable capacity of what we have as a country, when it comes to your peak demand, you're looking at about 4,400 megawatts. If you have Akosombo, which is almost 1,000 megawatts, what it means is that you have 25% of dependable capacity off. And that is a significant blow to our power generation. And this goes to speak to an issue that had existed years ago. If you recall, under His Excellency the President's term as President in his first term, there were a number of strategies that were put in place to ensure that as a country, we almost always have excess capacity, and that will meet the reserve margin demand. In any serious institution or any serious jurisdiction, what you do is that you should have about 20% of your generation mix as reserve margin. Unfortunately, the previous administration failed to continue, where they had the view that it was resulting in excess capacity, and then stopped a lot of these companies that we had signed PPAs with from proceeding, or they ended up abrogating. And so as a country, we are back to where we were. We have to put in place measures to make sure that we have the reserve margin. And that's why if you check this year's budgets, the finance minister mentioned that the government is looking at constructing about 1,200 megawatts of power. Beyond that, as a ministry, we've initiated a process to also come up with the battery-backed solar system, what we call BESS, which is a 200 megawatt. And then also we are looking at thermal of about 400 megawatts. And so we are looking to close that gap because demand is growing. Alfred, you are very familiar with Accra. You're a very experienced journalist. If you look at Greater Accra and you even look at Kanda, where your own station is, if you move beyond TV3 and you descend to where Flagstaff House is, you notice that some of the residential areas that were bungalows today, they're all becoming duplexes and commercial properties. If you move just across there to Osu, if you get to Airport Residential, you get to Chadu, all those places are becoming commercial. The buildings are now moving from 2-3 bedroom bungalow to apartment, 10-story, 15-story, some of them office apartment or office complexes. What it means is that your demand is going up, and it will be important that you add to the generation mix, and that's what, as a government,
right.
we initiate the process to do that.
I see. So which areas have been affected, Mr. Roxon, by this situation where no electricity essentially is coming from Akosombo? Do you have that data?
No, what it is that, that you generate, you transmit, and then when you beyond the transmission, you do what we call distribution. Yesterday, when the incident happened, the immediate places that were affected were the areas of Malam, part of Pokwase, Dansuman, Dakuman, part of Tema. If you speak to anybody who lives within the enclave, they'll confirm to you that around 1 a.m. their power was restored. And so largely the places that had these issues, some of them have had their power restored. And so it is not easy to just say that it's area A or area B, because what we have is that you look at the demand available, the demand at the time, and then the supply available, and you'll be able to distribute power accordingly. And so it's not straightforward. The way our systems are built in a way that you can connect to multiple sources of power at all times. And so even though, yesterday we had those areas affected immediately when the accident happened, subsequently those areas were restored, and then I'm sure that those places can confirm that they've had some stability when it comes to power supply. Generally, as a country, our power supply has been stable, largely stable, let me put it that way, except of course for pockets of outages that we were experiencing in certain areas as a result of the challenges that we have. But generally, the engineers are working around the clock to ensure that power is restored fully.
Okay, Richmond, if you could sit back a bit for me, that'll be good. Now, just sit back a bit for me. Great. Now, are you shedding load?
Nyankopon onhiro bibia no ontro bibia nkrabahye aha ena dwumadie no ema me kwan se me famunsi magebre na se na mapanza no se ne owura su afi se obe like my share, subscribe to the channel no se na bia political trend news bi ayekobe ya wonso waje penisa onsa ebe kebi down the edwuma na na dwumadi abu Nyankopon onhiro bibia aha ena mbre ema me kwan se me famunsi na se wo nsem kai bi so kan fashion comment section no Ghana Politics Avenue so begebre no no dwumadi wi abu makram.